Welcome back, folks, to the Membership Machine Show. This is episode 108. In this episode, me and Nico are going to be talking about community building and management, the best practices for 205. Everybody seems to be talking about community and membership. It was a big subject in 2024 and it's just continued in 2025. There's new platforms, but nobody can really pin down what is a community and how you should manage it properly. It's a bit of a minefield, but me and Nicole got some good insights to share with you, our beloved tribe, our beloved community. Should be a great show. So, Nicole, do you want to quickly introduce yourself to the tribe?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's great to be back on another Friday here, or no, on whatever day we're recording, whatever day you're hearing this. For us, it happens to be Friday. My name is Nicole Willette. I own a marketing company and I've owned it for the last 17 years, but I've clearly been doing, social media marketing, blogging, that kind of thing for about 20 years now. So I've seen things come and go and I'm always excited with what's coming next. So it's a pleasure to talk about these things. Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Yes, and Nico runs a great YouTube channel where she takes tongue-in-cheek a little aim at all the online drifters. So what's the name of the channel?
Oh, yeah. So it's Breaking Even Communications is the YouTube channel, and that particular playlist is Nicole Reacts, and I've reacted to over 100 online marketing gurus. So if you enjoy that sort of content, it's pretty bingeable. So enjoy.
Binge on it. It's very entertaining, folks. But before we go into the meat and potatoes of this great show, I've got a major message from one of our beloved sponsors. We will be back in a few moments, folks.
Hi there, e-commerce store owner. At Omnisend, we help more than 100,000 e-commerce customers, just like you, sell their products. We're an all-in-one email and SMS marketing platform that helps you reach your customers, grow your audience, and increase sales. In fact, our customers have seen incredible results with Omnisend, averaging $72 in revenue for every single dollar spent. And if you ever have a question, our award-winning customer support team is available 24/7 every single day. That's one of the reasons we have more than 6,000 glowing reviews and ratings all across the web. So, get started with Omnisend today and start growing your business with better email and SMS marketing.
And we're coming back, folks. I want to point out we've got a fantastic curated list of the best WordPress technology, plugins, themes, and services that will save you a ton of time if you're looking at building your membership community website on WordPress, and I think you should, for all the flexibility, design, UX, and ownership benefits of building on a open source system. You can find all these goodies by going over to wp-tonic.com/deals, wp-tonic.com/deals, plus some special offers from the sponsors. What more could you ask for, my beloved tribe?
I can't think of anything else I could possibly want. I'll be honest.
Yeah, there we go. She kind of filled my mind there. Nicole just beats me so easily, but on the other hand, it's quite easy because I'm a man, so it's very basic stuff. So,
Jonathan, you contain multitudes. Who are you kidding?
Yes, yeah, I'm fractionated. Is there a word? It should be, shouldn't it? So
it is now.
Yeah, it is now. There we go. So, before we go into some of the show notes, some of the points that I listed to guide us through this episode, Nico, would you agree that it's a very, in some ways, overused term when it comes to membership community? It's been a consistent feature of building a membership website for the last couple of years. Would you agree what I'm outlining here?
I would say that, I think there's kind of two ways people use the word community. And I think one is I'm a content creator or I'm a business and I'm putting out material and my community, the people that follow me, are commenting on it or asking me questions and things like that. So I feel like those I feel like people use the word community for that. And I guess when I think about this topic, though, if I'm saying an online community, that's not what I think of. I don't think of sort of one person or one company bringing up all the topics of discussion and sort of, leading it in that way. I think of something that's, I guess, a little bit more egalitarian. I think of something, whether it's, a group on a social media platform, or whether it's, maybe using an asynchronous messaging system like Slack or Discord, or maybe it's using some, the third party, or, or the WordPress software where you're hosting your course content and letting people, talk to each other. I think, to me, that is more of a community. Yes, you are bringing up some topics and things like that, but also there is very much this back and forth, which I don't often see, I guess, with when content creators refer to their community. But I don't know if that is something that I'm misreading, but that is kind of just my impression of it.
Yeah, I think there's different levels. I
Yeah.
think there's consumers, there's followers of particular YouTube channels, or particular Twitter, or whatever social media platform that you follow. There's particular people that I follow, and when they publish a new video, a new piece of content, I will stop and have a quick glance, and if it's of some interest, I will consume it, because they've got a track record. They've built some level of trust in me that it's worth me stopping and just giving it a quick glance and see if it's worthwhile. And then there's a load of other influencers or people on social media that I don't know, and the title or the thumbnail really has to stop me, where the other person, I will stop anyway because I've consumed their previous content and it's been good. So I, even though if the thumbnail isn't fantastic, I will still look at it because they've built trust with me. There's that level, and then there's a more educational level in my mind, where you've actually bought a course and you've got some value from it, and then you look at buying the next level course, which normally is more expensive, and they've built trust in you, and then part of that next level is more of an introduction to our online community that's around the wrapper of mentorship and training. That's how I see the flow.
Yeah. No, and that's what I mean, is like, people use the word community in both of those senses, whether it's, I mean, obviously, I guess I don't consider my YouTube channel a community. I mean, I do, like, people, I guess, are leaving comments, I'm commenting back, they're commenting with each other. But I feel like, I guess if I was going to call it an online community, I feel like in the sense that I mean it, I would have to be kind of doing more to, I feel like, nurture it, or creating opportunities for them to talk to each other a little bit more in a structured way. I don't know. It just doesn't feel quite like a community to me. But the way that you put it, maybe it is. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, that it needs to be something bigger than it is. Maybe a community can be more basic than I'm thinking it is.
Right, I think it's very difficult. One of the I love podcasting because as a child, I think one of the things that educated me was listening to UK radio and Radio 4. And I've always been in love with radio. And I think podcasting is the kind of the 21st century form of radio. But one of the problems of podcasting is it's extremely difficult to get any response from the audience. The only time that you normally do is through social media. X, I have quite a big following on X, but it hasn't grown lately. I get a few people, but I don't normally engage in feeding the cesspool, as I call it. So maybe that's why I don't get the level of engagement on that particular platform. The YouTube channel's grown very strongly recently, and I'm getting a lot of people sign up, and I do get comments there. So, but I've noticed other people. But on the other hand, it's very difficult for me to judge if that's the platform, because other people seem more successful in getting response and a two-way conversation going. So before we go into the points, what's your thoughts about that? Is it generally hard, or are we making excuses, or is it a mixture of the two?
I think it's probably a mixture of the two. When I think about sort of, even if we think about YouTube creators who I feel like have a strong community, it's because they're doing like live events or meet and greets with people. They're active across multiple social media platforms. They're posting obviously content regularly to YouTube. They have, typically some kind of, Patreon or similar kind of membership level, which gives those people, additional access or benefits. So I feel like the people who are most successful are doing a bunch of different things, which obviously if you're a single operator or a very small business would be hard for you to do. But and I think the reason they get interaction is because they're doing all these things, and those different channels are kind of feeding each other. So for example, they're getting ideas for upcoming videos by asking their Patreons, or they're using a comment on social media to improve, or schedule, an additional live event in a certain location or something like that. So I feel like, the marketing engine, right? You could always be doing more. And I think that's what's really hard about it. But until you try the different things, you don't really know what's going to work for you. So it's kind of like that first 2 weeks when you start a college semester and you're just like trying to do all the readings and go to all the classes. And it takes you a while to figure out kind of, okay, well, this professor is going to lecture on everything that I read. So I probably don't have to do all the readings. Or, this professor is never going to ask you any questions about the supplemental reading. So I can stop doing that. But at first you have to do everything for those first couple of weeks, and it's kind of exhausting. So, but yeah, I don't know if that's an accurate assessment. But when I think of people who I perceive as successful in having the two-way conversations, it's the people who are doing a lot of different stuff.
I also noticed that a couple of YouTube channels that I do follow, because the subjects that they have a consistent record of producing interesting content in areas that I'm interested in, which is online marketing, AI, WordPress, blah, blah, blah. Yes, folks, I'm a very boring individual. But I noticed a couple of them. One guy, he's Russian, but he left Russia just when the Ukraine-Russian war started, and now he's living in Argentina with his family. And he produces a lot of, he's very Russian. I knew quite a lot of them in London. And he's very Russian. I put a little comment, I made a little joke about he's got a French bulldog, and I said, well, you should really get a British one. And he did really get the humour, really, and bless his little heart. But he's based in Argentina at the present moment, but I think he's looking to try and move him and his family. And he produces a ton of quite good AI content, and then reviews all the platforms and everything, and delves in it. Great. And he's been struggling with making money online, basically. So one of the things that he's recently done is he's produced a community courses, but he's on School. He's decided to use School. And I've noticed a couple of these leading YouTube influencers are kind of moving on to School. And it seems to be the in thing at the present moment, a bit like Circle used, and it was promoted by Pat. um, a well-known podcast, and but then he put money into it. But these,
Is this Pat Flynn?
yeah,
Is that who
Pat
this
Flynn,
is? Yeah.
he got really, he invested a ton of money in Circle, didn't he? But they all seem to be looking at school at the present moment. Why do you think that is? Is it the deals that are getting? Because for the price, and they also take a percentage. But I suppose it's the combination. A lot of these platforms, I also notice in the newsletter space, you've got a thing like Beehive, that they're kind of mixing the actual functionality of sending out a newsletter with a marketplace. Beehive do that. Plus, this school is doing it, isn't it? Because they're building. It's a competitor to something like Teachable, or if you're looking at WordPress, Learnable, but or Lifter LMS. But they're combining a marketplace as well, aren't they? They're combining a marketplace with a platform, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just looked up really quick in my other screen, and the affiliate commission on school is 40%. And if you know how much school is, you're like, that wouldn't be a bad. I mean, if you have millions of subscribers, right, and you send them to this platform, 40% of their of their sign up is it's a
Well,
pretty nice
they're
savings.
trying to combine. They're trying to
Yeah.
attack Unimi, aren't they? Basically, aren't they?
Yeah, and also like I understand the tension, right? Because the marketplace, you're like, okay, I kind of like that there's a marketplace. There's an existing group of people who want to buy something, but then my stuff is right next to my quote unquote competitors' content. Like it's I understand kind of like I said, the sort of like appeal of the marketplace, but I also understand like the hesitation with, I guess, jumping into that, because suddenly, even if you don't have any competition that you perceive, you're associated with all these other people. And the question is like, do you want to be? If you're in the same marketplace as them, right? And there's some people on there that you don't really want to associate with. Yeah.
But the reason why I'm pointing this, because I thought, is that it's been pushed in the same way that I saw how Circle was being pushed, and how I saw Kajabi through YouTube.
Oh, Kajabi, that's the other one I was thinking of. I was trying to think of that other one.
It was promoted through online, basically YouTube influencers pushed it a lot, because they were getting really fantastic affiliate deals, especially some of the bigger YouTube influencers. They were getting some enormous kickbacks from Kajabi. And I saw this with Circle. Circle, I don't think has been a tremendous success. That I think they thought that I've never used it. I've done a review on it, and there were parts of it that it tried to do the kind of intermediate thing where you added it to an existing website, rather than what Kajabi and, let's say, Mighty Networks, this total Swiss Army knife solution. But I saw the same trend about building a community on Circle, on these platforms, and I wouldn't say I think school were doing anything wrong, but in the way, I think when you're charging a fair whack, I think their cheapest plan starts at $99. Then you're taking 40% as well. I think you're taking the mickey a little bit, especially on the platform that is not spending a lot of money on online marketing, is relying on affiliate and kickbacks from YouTube influencers. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think both you and I are the kind of people who, I mean, we're both WordPress users. I think the LMS I have used in the past is LearnDash, and I think you've used that too. I like building something that is on a platform that I control, and I like building the features the way I want them. And I really, and it's funny because if you read some of my YouTube comments, some of them aren't super nice. And basically people are saying, oh, the reason you talk about these people is because you're jealous that they're successful. And it's not that I'm jealous, although don't get me wrong. If I woke up and had a few million in the bank tomorrow for absolutely no reason, I wouldn't be mad about it. I think it's just that when I feel like somebody is overcharging for what they're delivering, it just makes me feel a certain kind of way. And that's how I feel about school the way you do, to be honest with you. I think it's way overpriced for what it is. And I think the reason it's overpriced is because they have to pay all these people back, all these affiliates, and maybe investors too, of course. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think a lot of these tools are like overhyped, and a lot of times when you're just starting off building a community, you don't need all those features. Like you don't need a Swiss Army knife. Like you just want to get really good at, maybe, a little knife that has like, the little tiny scissors, the little knife, and maybe a nail file. You want to kind of start with that and work your way up to a tool that has more with it.
Well, the thing is, before we go to break, because I've gone off track a little bit, but we will go through the main points in the second half. But it just occurred to me that there was a bigger subject that we really needed to talk about, which I'll in this first half, because I've seen it in the newsletter space with Substack and with Beehive, where they a lot of traditional media have gone and become new media. Basically, they're trying to build a YouTube channel, and they've got their Substack newsletter. And then Beehive have tried to muscle in to that as well, and they take a big cut. And I just think, maybe use it at all, but really you want them, and I'm sure that they share the list, because you'd be mad if they don't. That's one of the things. I don't know with school if you do. I would imagine they must share the list of people that sign up, because that's one of the main drawbacks of Udemy, isn't it? Is that they don't share the list of subscribers with you that actually buy the course. And that's probably another reason why people that would look at Udemy are looking at school, aren't they? Because that's painful that they don't share the list. Udemy do.
Right. I mean, and Meetup's the exact same way. I have a paid Meetup account. I have a list of like 100 people. I can't contact any of them. I can only post to the Meetup platform. And so the fact I'm paying $30 a month to pay to people that I can't directly contact in any other way feels like kind of gross to me. Actually, I meant to cancel it and then I forgot to, and then it auto renewed at the end of the month and I was like, oh crap. But yeah, that feels a little seedy too. I understand that, I shouldn't have like maybe their credit card numbers or something like that. Like the platform should keep that safe, but I should be able to contact them if they've purchased something from me as a business, if only for quality assurance purposes.
Ratio, I've waffled enough, but I just wanted to do a landscape and the things you've got to consider.
Sure.
We're going to go for our break, and when we come back, we're actually going to delve in to the key parts of building a community, some of the key things that you've got to understand that will help you build a community on whatever platform you're considering. We will be back in a few moments, folks.
Tired of hosting providers that can't handle high traffic loads? Conversio is here to help. Our platform can handle any amount of traffic, all without slowing down or crashing. With immediate Slack support, performance optimization, and a team that thrives on resolving technical challenges, your e-commerce business is in safe hands. Learn more about Conversio at conversio.com.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Lifter LMS, the leading learning management system solution for WordPress. If you or your client are creating any kind of online course, training-based membership website, or any type of e-learning project, Lifter LMS is the most secure, stable, well-supported solution on the market. Go to lifterlms.com and save 20% at checkout with coupon code podcast 20. That's podcast 20. Enjoy the rest of your show.
Coming back, folks, we've had a bit of a dive in what the landscape when it comes to building a community is like, with new players, existing players. But before we go into the second half of the show, I want to point out that Nico's got a great social media service. That sounds fab. So, Nico, do you want to tell us more about your social media service that you started a few months ago? It's getting some real traction, I think. It sounds fab.
It's starting to, yeah. So if you have been on social media, you probably have noticed that vertical short videos are the thing that all the platforms want. But as a business owner, you might say, I don't want to learn a new dance right now. I don't want to do that stupid thing. I wish there was a way for me to find a trend that I could do and record once and post across multiple platforms as it was trending. Well, don't worry. I've got something for you. It's called Trend to Send. And if you go to trendtosend.com, you can sign up and you'll get a text message from me twice a week with a trend that you can film. And I film my own it's a very short little video. And then I link to all the audio on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm looking at, if you're on Red Note, they're going to start offering trending audio. I'm keeping an eye on that. So I'll add them once that exists. And basically you record your video and then you attach the trending audio as you post it to the platforms, and your videos will get a lot more views. And just as an experiment, I did this on my own YouTube channel where I regularly post content. I posted trending videos and I posted my regular content. And guess what? Those silly little trending videos that I spent 15 minutes on from start to finish got twice as many views as videos I spent hours recording. So if you are ready to start playing social media as a little game, but ready to not spend your whole life doing it, check out trendtosend.com.
Oh, right. Sounds fab. So let's delve into, so you're looking to build a community, and, whatever platform, it's going to have something similar to Facebook groups as part of the platform. It's going to have elements of a forum. You want the community to start talking to one another on the platform that you've chosen. You want people of the community to engage, which sounds fantastic. But anybody that was brought up, that utilized, that was in web development design of the 90s, know that some of the most poisonous areas of the internet were forums. So you need guidelines and you need to control expectations. What's your thoughts around this, Nico?
Well, groups that I've been a part of or managed, obviously there's group rules posted, and part of what you do when you sign up is you agree to them. But the second thing that I've found helpful is that usually, and different groups do this differently, sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's once a day, they will announce new members, and tag them as, welcome Nicole, welcome Jonathan, welcome, and then they will post the group rules as well. So there's absolutely no excuse that you haven't seen them, because you check the box that you agree to them, but also like your name, and they are right under that initial post that is associated with your name. And that also kind of gives those new community members a chance to kind of say hi without starting a whole thread themselves, because they're kind of being welcomed in this new way. So yeah, I think showing the group rules multiple times in addition to enforcing them is a good way to kind of start out. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I think you're spot on, but I've noticed, I might be one of them. I don't think so. Can be, but who knows? It's these people that join. I know there's a few things that a few regular Zooms and other webinars that I'm a member of a couple memberships myself, and I join regularly every week. And there's just a few people that seem to dominate the conversations every week. Mm-hmm. They've got endless list of questions. They go on forever. They're wafflers, worse than me, Nico. Got any insights about how you deal with these types? Because I think every online community has them, don't they?
Yeah, I think every online community has them. So like when I, believe it or not, before this whole internet thing, I trained to be a high school teacher. Like I thought I was going to teach high school science. And one of my, and I've done student teaching and I've actually taught at a school for a couple of years. But one of the techniques that they teach you is if there's a student that's talking, that you physically walk closer and closer to them. And like you stand near them. So so thinking of a way to do that virtually is kind of interesting, right? I think part of it could be encouraging other people, maybe like when you post a particular thing and for example, like let's say in your online community about, about courses, let's say you have a couple of people that have had courses a really long time, but they haven't ever really commented on things. When you post the update, tagging them in a comment saying, at Stephanie, at Mark, I'd really love to hear your thoughts about this as experienced creators, like bringing them in. I don't really know how else to do it. I mean, you can't really tell the people who are
No,
participating
that's the,
quiet, because also like you don't want to look like I mean, you want people to contribute to your community. And so I did have somebody once, I was managing a Facebook business page and she was just really dominating the comments. And I thought, okay, I said, okay, I can ask her to stop, right? Because it's kind of, or I could funnel her energy into something else. So I messaged her privately and I said, hey, I really appreciate how active you are here. This business is actually trying to, be getting more, reviews on Google. Is that something you think you could help with? And then it kind of gave her like a way, like she was trying to be helpful to the business by leaving all these comments. But I was like, could you maybe, leave a review and maybe help us encourage other people to? Oh, that would be great. So it kind of gave her like something to do to help, like to channel her energy into something else. So that could, something like that could work well, maybe for an online community. Maybe you channel
I think that's
energy.
I think that's great insight. The other thing I want to point out is anything you do say, really, anything, email, anything you comment online will come across a lot more severe than you think. It's just part of platforms. Really tone it down, because you really got to tone your voice on emails as well, because any digital communication, apart from a Zoom, a video call, which isn't exactly the same as meeting somebody person to person in real life, but it's as close as you're going to get online. But apart from that, everything, all other written communication, you really need to look at it and tone it down, because it comes across double or 3 times in tonnage than you think it will. So that's my comment on it. But there's no easy way, but be aware that you do need guidelines and you do need a document that will manage expectations of what they're going to get, especially if they're joining a course that has a large element of community and they're paid a fair bit of money to join it. On to the next one. Hyper-personalization, creating tailored membership journeys. Well, this is a core element of building out a community around membership. That's one of the core elements of the value proposition of having a tier structure. Normally, not always, it's more lesson pre-recording, then you join a next level that has community, and then you have a next level that has a power group, and then the final level has a power group, and you have one-to-one interaction with the owner founder. That's how it normally works. So what's your thoughts about this?
Well, I will say one of the gurus that I reviewed in the last few months, she mentioned, of course, she was in a multi-level marketing thing, but what she did was she put all her new people into a challenge group for, I think it was 4 or 6 weeks, So they had like a very small group. And then basically, once they quote unquote graduated from that group, she put them into her larger community where she like did live streams and stuff like that. And I thought, well, that seems backwards to me, right? Because wouldn't you put someone in the bigger community, and then if they paid more, you would put them in a smaller, more intimate community? But what I realized is that was kind of a shortcut to sort of give them, a 4 or 6 week intensive. She probably ran the same group over and over again. She scheduled the same content in the same order and all that, but it set the tone before these people joined the larger group, which I thought was an interesting idea. But I think there's a variety of ways to do that. And I think, a personalized experience that I can think of in one of the groups I'm in is that there's a monthly, I think they call it coffee hour. And there's one volunteer that organizes it. And she'll post and she'll say, okay, who wants to be in, and she'd be planning for March toward the end of February. So the last week of February, she'd say, okay, put your name, comment here if you want to be part of the March coffee group by, this particular date. And so you comment like me. And then what she does is she's matches people up and she tags them. So she'll be like, at Nicole, Jonathan, you guys are matched up for the March coffee group. And then we're in charge, you and I, of like arranging what that looks like. So I might, private message you or email you or something like that to set up a time over Zoom or a phone call or something like that. But that is kind of a personalized experience because you're in this group, but like you don't have to participate unless you want to. And they've created this structure where it happens on a monthly basis. You know what to expect. It's always the same person organizing it. So you can do personalized journeys either on that kind of base level, like the pyramid scheme lady, or you can do it like within the group itself. Not everybody has to, participate in everything, but if you create these opportunities, the people who want to can.
Yeah, I think the example of, as you say, the pyramid lady, I love it. I love it. It's back to front. It's effective because of what she's involved with.
Yeah.
I think most more how to word this.
More non-pyramid structures.
Yes, that's the way to word it. Thank you, Nicole. You're much more. I'm struggling now, but it's a more traditional where you join at a lower level and then you consume some of the less expensive course. You build relationship, you build trust. They move on to intermediate course, and then so many of those people will join a higher group where it's a group meeting, normally with the founder, and then they can also have access to a discount price where they can purchase one-to-one consultation, and the pricing is all laid out and white, and the discount you're getting. I'm a member of a group run by a well-known Facebook influencer that's got many years and is reasonably credible, and that's a gentleman called John Newmer, and that's how he structures his packages. And other people that are not in pyramid schemes, that's how they seem to organise their online communities. On to the next thing. In-person events, deeper connection. Well, live events, that seems what YouTube's been pushing, a lot of these platforms. I make these. Sometimes we get people join us, sometimes we don't. But I've noticed with some of the regular Zooms or StreamYards that I remember, it's okay if they've got a particular topic and they're going to discuss that with an element of free discussion. But if it's just free discussion, they just go on a big bender, worse than me, Nicole. So what's your insights about in-person events?
Yeah, no, I think that they can work really well. Obviously, like for most online communities, especially if you're in, in a, a specialized niche. You might not have anybody physically nearby you that does the same thing. So I think these hybrid events are nice. I appreciate it when they're well structured, like you said, where there's an agenda, and that if there is discussion, maybe you're being put in a breakout room that's relatively small, so that it gives everyone a chance to talk. In particular, the good ones I've been in have been like, okay, we're going to put you in breakout rooms for 8 minutes. You should each spend about 2 minutes talking about this particular thing, and we're going to put you and go, so then there's that expectation, and there's a little countdown timer. I don't know if it's optional or if it's automatically on, so that you can kind of see as you're talking, like, okay, like my 2 minutes are coming to a close. It's on to the next person. But I appreciate when they're a little bit more structured too. And also going in with a bit of an agenda. Like I'm on this one email list and they're like, let's get together and network. And I think I went once, but I can't bring myself to like make the 2-hour time to go, because I don't know. It feels too amorphous for me to want to like really commit to it and think about how I could contribute to that virtual event. But also, I just want to throw this out there, that part of your virtual event, it can be tempting to plan it, I guess, all out ahead of time in terms of, I'm going to say these exact things, but just giving people space to either ask questions or work sometimes can be really valuable too. So like, if Jonathan was going to say, hey, I'm going to host a virtual hour, and all of us are going to work on our, on our WordPress membership websites, and I'm just going to be here. I'm going to put you guys all in your own breakout room to work. And then I'm going to be here, and you can kind of call me into your breakout room, and I can maybe help you with, a WordPress setup issue that you might be having. So sometimes just even getting people together for like a work session can be kind of nice. What are your thoughts on that, Jonathan?
I think you're spot on there. I haven't got much to add to that. I'm going to drop, I had done before, humanizing your brand. I'm going to drop that because that's such an enormous subject. We could talk about that the whole show. So I'm going to move on to number 5, balancing automation. This is insightful because this is tricky as well. Because everybody, and I've had loads of people advise that wanted elaborate automatizations in place, and they haven't even got their first student. And I just look at them and I think, you've got, and I've given up trying to persuade people not to go down this path, because that's the other thing. You've got to make a assess. There are a lot of people. It's taken me almost 60 years to work this one out. I am a very slow learner in some aspects, Nicole.
Me too.
I didn't twig when I was a younger person that a lot of people that ask for your advice, they really don't want your advice. They just want
they want you to agree with them.
They just want you to agree with them. They have no interest in your opinion or thoughts about anything. And I've had these people, they haven't, and they need to really concentrate on building on their minimum viable course, as I call it, from the world of bootstrap startups. Build your minimum viable product and get your first group of students and really find out what they liked about it, blah, blah, blah. But these people, they want to build out these elaborate automatizations, and they haven't even got 20 students in their course. Well, I think, but on the other hand, when you start getting in the hundreds, 500, 1,000 students, that's when you got to start building your automation. Otherwise, because you're just going to get flooded, aren't you? So what do you think?
I mean, what I always tell people, and this kind of like gives them pause, I say, when they come to me, I say, when you have that problem, you'll have the money to solve that problem. And that usually, because I'm like, okay, do you really want to spend like hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on this, depending on what it is, like right now? Or I was like, when you have that problem of too many people, we'll have the money to solve that. And then usually they're like, okay, got it. Because they know that I'm just trying to save them money, right? And sort of heartache. But I think that like we were talking before we started recording about, the American dream, right, is like being able to make money with absolutely no effort, right? But I think the thing is
that
that
term that Americans always using, it's not secondary income. What's this?
passive income.
That's the term.
Oh,
That's the term of
yeah.
American life, isn't it? Passive income, but I've never found anything that was passive.
I mean, the only thing I can think is passive is, I guess, my, my retirement account or something, as I put money into it, like, and it's automatically invested in these stocks or whatever. But I can't think of anything I've ever done that is passive. Even stuff that seemed like it wouldn't be a lot of work was some work. So I think more of what you need to do at the beginning is like some kind of, checklist sort of thing of like, okay, when you get a new member, what happens, like what needs to happen. Okay, you need to add them to your LMS. You need to, if there's a separate group, you need to add them to the group. Okay, and
Yeah,
you
there
need to
has to
tag
be
them
a
in a new member
process.
post. And I think you make a process,
Yeah.
and then once you work with your process for a little bit, onboarding your first students, you might say, oh, somebody was confused because they got the course email before I added them to the group to tell them that they were going to get the course email. So maybe I want to switch the order of that. So,
well, that's why you need to work closely with these.
Yeah, exactly. So that when you do automate it, it makes sense,
isn't it?
Yeah. You want to you want to get through your process and automate it, but it'll take some trial and error. You're not going to get everything right away. I mean, I think most of us know that about anything that we've tried to do in our lives, So I would say, work on that. And if you wanted to automate, like, let's say that, on your WordPress site, you have like a gravity form that automatically makes them their own WordPress account when they fill it out to pay for the course, and that gives them access to the
Oh,
course.
you said the wrong thing there, Nick.
That's fine. What did I say? What was wrong?
Not gravity.
Oh, you don't like gravity forms?
Yeah, I love it, but I think
Okay.
I just think there's a much easier. I think for the right situation, gravity is still a great solution. But I think for a lot of people, I think Fluent Forms is just easier, better value. It's got a free version, and then it's got the pro, and then it works with Fluent CRM really. So it's a double winner. So
yeah.
But I forgive you, Nick.
Oh, thank you so much. I didn't want to have a form smackdown in the middle of this episode. But I mean, point being is, like, if you were like, okay, like, it's kind of a pain that they filled out this form, and now I'm going to go fill out a form on my website to make them an account. I wish it, like that automation, I guess I have less of a problem with. That kind of makes sense to me, that you
it's the balance.
Twice.
Thanks for pointing that out. You're totally right. As normal. But I meant more of these elaborate automatizations.
Yeah, I know.
And you haven't even got your first student through this, and you need to really concentrate on getting your first students through this.
Absolutely, I agree.
And you're just wasting time building elaborate automatizations for the 1,000 students that there's a good. What the sad thing is, is that I've had some people that are hosting with WP-Tonic and got consultations with me, and they've got the knowledge and the course, and they built out a professional course, and it's great, and they need to start marketing it. But they've just got sucked into the world of WordPress and marketing automation and ClickFunnels or whatever the bloody platform, and they just got sucked into this nonsense.
I know. I think automation is so sexy, right?
Getting their first students, right?
I know. And I think just automation is such like a marketing word, and it's so sexy, like this idea that like something's going to automatically happen without you having to do anything. I get that we all like the idea of that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have that at a certain point, but I'm saying that, it's kind of like, I don't know, let's say you had like a factory and there was like a problem in the process, and then you're like, oh, how can I make this work faster? Well, all it's going to do is the thing is going to keep breaking. It's just going to break at a faster rate because you're moving faster. So like, just figure out your process first, and then you can automate after, and you can talk to someone like Jonathan who can like look at your process and be like, oh, this is what you can automate. This is, there's tons, people can kind of help you out when you're at that point. But again, when you have the money, when you have the problem, you'll have the money to solve that problem. So just like wait for that.
Nice problem to have, isn't it?
It is a great problem to have. I have too many students. Oh, poor you.
empowering your hosts. Well, these are the kind of these people that help you run communities. They normally get some benefits by being a host or a lead, whatever terminology you're going to do. But any community, you normally have these individuals that become all that are leads, and they're really, people get worried that they're going to, if you go down this path, you are going to get people that will volunteer to be leads. And they're really important, but it's important to empower them. And also, what's your own thoughts about? You've probably been a couple of leads, as
Yeah. I end up being, because sometimes I have an idea, of like, oh, it would be really cool if this group I'm in, this one guy, he was like, oh, like he wanted to start a Marketing Monday thread, where, because the group is like no self-promotion, but like he's like, so he went to the mods and said, hey, can we have like one thread a week, Marketing Monday, where like we would start the thread and then underneath it in the comments people could promote a product or service that they wanted to talk about. And the mod said yes. And so every Monday he's like, all right, Marketing Monday, like who's got some new stuff to talk about? And it's nice because, people might have ideas to make your group better, and they probably understand that maybe you don't have time to implement it or whatever. And if you trust them to do that, and you structure it in such a way where like it is understood that happens on Monday, that there's brackets that say Marketing Monday at the top of the post, and that's the one is it. And that that's where you're allowed to self-promote. So that group is just really well run because the moderators are constantly enforcing the rules in an egalitarian way. And also that when people have an idea like that, they go to the moderators, kind of figure out how it's going to work, and then bring it into the community, which I think makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, I'm going to drop number 7 because I'm going to go to 8, and then we can have a quick ending chat and wrap this show up. Best practices. Now, anything that, based on your experience, that you think that we haven't covered that people need to know?
I mean, I think, like I said, a big part of community management is it does take time, and enforcing the rules, like I said, consistently, like not letting certain people get away with stuff because they've been around longer or something like that. If you've decided that there's suddenly no self-promotion in the group, but the guy that started with you is still self-promoting, like you need to like enforce that, because there's nothing that'll degrade like a group's feeling if you start treating people differently. So I would just underline that, I guess.
Yeah, the thing I want to point out is that I think if you've got existing Facebook group, if you've got existing, as I call it, your tribe, the purple cow, the tribe. What's the name of that guy that wrote those books?
Seth Godin.
Oh, Seffi. Such a slick bugger, isn't he? But he's a pretty smart guy. I give him that. He's influenced me, but he's so slick, isn't he? And but there we go. It's, if you've got these online communities and you got them to a certain stage, it's a great idea to get them on your own community platform.
Mm-hmm.
If you're building, you're putting a lot of work into it, and you're building on somebody's own platform. And like I say, I think the best platform, if you're going to put all this work in, folks, is the platform that you have the most control over, and that's WordPress. And there's basically two platforms. There used to only be one, and that used to be Buddy Boss, and it's a fabulous platform, but it is a bit of a beast. More for your first outings in this, there's another great solution called Fluent Community, and that looks really promising. So you've got a couple great community building platforms on WordPress now. You've got 2 options, and I just think it's best to build it on WordPress, because you get the other thing is, if you haven't got this community, but you have got the knowledge and you've listened to all the other advice that we're giving in this show, I would start with a membership and then build it up and then look at community. Because I just think people underestimate the amount of work involved in building a community, managing it, running it, and it's just too much too quick. It's not that it's a bad idea, but you're trying to run before you can walk. What do you reckon, Nicole?
Yeah, I've had a few. Actually, I pitched for a regional business organization because people were like, "Oh, they're not really on Facebook and email feels clunky." I was like, "Well, we could set up some kind of online community that would let people, post stuff." And they really liked that idea. But when I told them how much it would cost for me to manage it, they were like, "Oh, that's really expensive." And I said, "Well, I have to get in there every day and interact with people and enforce the rules and start different discussion threads. Like, this is a brand new community." And I'm not saying that longer standing communities aren't work, because they are, but at first you really have to set that tone. So it does take a lot of time, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I the few people I pitched this community management to, they're like, "Yeah, I don't want to pay you to do this." And I'm like,
Well,
"Okay."
there's nothing worse than you build out this community, whatever platform,
Yeah.
Mighty Network, Circle, School, WordPress, but
Yeah.
you spend all this time, money, and it's crickets because
Mhm.
that the early days of a membership website, it doesn't show. Actually, you don't
Mhm.
want, because you're going to get overwhelmed. You do need this minimum viable course and this initial round of students and be really tight with them to learn, to work out the bugs of your process
Mhm.
and also get the feedback so you can make the course better and build a secondary course based on that feedback. So you don't want an enormous amount of students.
Yeah.
And that's counterintuitive with what a lot of influencers push out there, folks. But with a community, it shows that you haven't got a lot of engagement. So that's why you want to build your community with these first steps and then morph it into community, because you won't get this cricket stage, as I call it.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, I think we've covered a ton of stuff, and I think
I
it's
think
been a
we
pretty
did.
good discussion. I didn't quite
Absolutely.
know where this was going to go, actually. But I think we've covered a lot of useful,
Yeah, I think so
honest
too.
insights here. What's the best way for people to find out more about you and your fabulous ideas and knowledge,
Oh,
Nicole?
yeah. Sure. If you want to learn about that trending video idea, you can go to trendtosend.com, or we're on various social platforms for that. But you can also follow Breaking Even Communications, and I'm on most social platforms under that handle.
We will be back next week with another subject to help you build a great membership business in 2025, with either a technical subject or a more general subject, but trying to give you some knowledge so you can avoid some of the pitfalls and really get where you want to go. We will be back next week, folks. Bye.